I call the September meeting of the Davenport Park and Recreation Advisory Council to order. And our first item of business is roll call.
Bartling,
Here.
Coiner,
Here.
Dasso,
Here.
Kefauver,
Here.
Meyer,
Here.
Peterson,
Here,
Powell, Powers, Schertz, Sharif, and Anthony reported that he was going to be absent today. We have a chair, or we have a quorum, Madam Chair.
thank you very much. So we'll proceed with the approval of the August minutes, which you received via electronics in your packet. And so at this point, I would entertain any questions or comments. And if we hear none, I will entertain a motion to approve.
I move to approve the minutes.
Is there a second? Second. Good. It's been moved and seconded to approve the August 21st meeting minutes as provided. And so we'll move on to our next item of business. At this point, we do not have public comment, so it will move our agenda to new business. And the first of those is our elections. And that is elections of the leaders or the appointed leaders of the advisory board. And as you recall, we did, at the August meeting, prepare a slate for consideration at this meeting. And at this point, we have chair position, Wendy Peterson, vice chair, Mike Schertz, secretary, Arcel Sharif, and our Riverfront Improvement Commission member, Chris Meyer. And at this point, are there any questions or comments that you'd like to make? And if not, I would entertain a motion to approve the slate of officers as presented.
I make a motion, we keep the existing officers of the Park Board, Advisory Board.
It has been moved. Is there a second to approve that?
I'll second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded to approve the slate as presented. At this point, we'll vote on that. Those approving.
That will be a roll call vote just
That's
for
right, that's right.
officialness and to follow our bylaws, if
Yes,
everyone's
thank you.
okay.
Thank you. So
We are voting to approve the slate as listed inside of our packet, the way Wendy reviewed it. Bartling,
Yes.
Coiner,
Yes.
Dasso,
Yes.
Kefauver,
Yeah.
Meyer,
Yes.
Peterson,
yes,
Schertz. Motion passes.
thank you. And we'll move on for a new venture in 25, 26 years. So welcome, everybody. On our second item of business, we have a new staff member to be introduced, and Becca will do so.
Hi, so I wanted to take a minute to introduce Amy Solis. She is our new senior clerk in the admin division. She's going to take a couple minutes to introduce herself. If you guys have a couple questions, just be kind. She's very nervous, but she's wonderful. So she joined us in July. She replaced Alyssa Walsh. I totally blanked for aging. And has been a phenomenal addition to the team. We had a kind of slow learning so that we knew some of the software was a big uplift in learning, and she has taken it to like a duck in water. to the point that we are already advancing her training into the next phases. So she's been a wonderful addition.
Hi, you guys.
Welcome.
Thank you. So very, very brief history of me. Like Becca said, I've been here for about 2 months. Professionally, I come from a history of healthcare. I worked for about 10 years as a physical therapist assistant and a medical assistant, and I decided I needed a change coming out of that. I did want to work in Parks and Recreation when I saw that post because I know what a great outreach that it plays here in the community, and I thought it would be a good thing to be a part of such a good team. Personally, I've been married for 22 years. We have 2 children. Our daughter just moved back from Ames. She worked at Iowa State University as a vet tech for about 3 years, and she got into the nursing program here at Eastern Iowa Community College. So I'm so excited that she's home. She brought home 2 or 3 rabbits and a cat, and I'm just happy she's home. Our son is a junior at the University of Iowa. He's a business and communications major, and in my opinion, he does not come home as often as he should. And then I'm just very excited to be here and excited to learn, so I appreciate your time. Do you have any questions? Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Welcome, yes, yes. Thank you. An item from last month's meeting was the presentation of the fiscal year 27 park and development projects. And we had an opportunity to rate those, and in our meeting packet, if you look carefully at the agenda items, you'll see the final results of our rating system, and that is a consolidation of all of our ratings. So if you would look at that, you'll either be probably comparing how you rated to how it came out in the final slate. At least I think everybody's done that. So we have 7 items, and you would want to take a look at that. And if there are questions, now's the time to ask those.
So originally, you scored 8 projects. The 8th project was removed from the slate. Unfortunately, the golf pond fountains did not rank high enough to move forward. We were a little bit over. The last ranked project was the water fountain upgrades. Originally, we had requested 30,000 of that. We reduced that funding on the lowest rated project, and we'll just not install probably 1 or 2 of those units to offset that funding difference.
Other questions, or the rating makes sense, and we'll move on. We had a nice packet to observe what it would look like and some detail about that particular item, and so we've had that in our information base for rating.
We will be asking for a motion to approve this slate so that the director can move it on to the CIP project request list.
Right. And so at this time, entertaining a motion to approve the slate as presented.
I make a motion to accept the park development project slate.
Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded to accept the slate as presented. And at this time, those accepting indicate yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Those abstaining or not voting? None that I hear or see. So we'll accept that motion, and we have the slate ready to go forward. So thank you all for your work on that. Our next items on the agenda are reports, and you received in your packet a staff report. And take a minute, and if there are questions, there are members of staff here that could, give more information if one needs that. So I always have questions. Under park operations, the thing that I was most interested in is the clearing out and mowing areas, that item on working on reducing mowing areas around town to prepare for winter. And this is just my observation as I go River Drive. And one of the things I find very unattractive is the weed stuff behind the railing on River Drive by Lindsay Park on the north side. It's very tall stuff and most of it's falling over, and it doesn't give a very good sight to us. And what I'm thinking that maybe is there a possibility to do a third mowing just in that area to keep it looking manicured there. And I'm seeing you know what we're talking about. So that's just my observation, and I traveled that quite a bit, and it doesn't look better, until that second mowing. So any comments?
Right, so I can tell you how we're managing that area. That area has been seeded with native grasses. It has not been established yet, so that comment was that we are starting to hit the reduced mowing areas. That's one of the areas that will be mowed down again before winter. Some of our other lower maintenance areas or reduced mowing areas will be left a little bit longer in the winter just because they provide good habitat for critters and other animals through the winter. And then those will be knocked down again in the spring. But that hill there for Lindsay Park will be mowed down one more time. That one, we're trying to establish a tall grass prairie there, which will require reduced mowing, and that hill is very steep, so that's why we went to try and get that established. But yes, that will be mowed down again before the end of fall.
That's good, and I need to keep my eyes on the road, right? As we go. The other thing I wonder, Chris and I are near Tyler Park, and so I'm real interested in where the reconditioning or the reestablishment of an area there that will continue with annual plants and things. So when I want to make sure I'm thinking the right place, is it toward the fences that divide the park from houses? And how close is it to the playground that stays there? And is it intended to have it part of a walking path kind of thing so that people can enjoy, because we're doing something about it with native flowers and things. So I see that educational component. So just a little bit more on where it's all going.
Sure, so that is the area. It's the area on the south side of the park, along that fence line that divides the park from the private residence. That area, without measuring, I would guess is a good 200 to 300 feet away from where the playground is. It's closer to the area that the old playground was at that we removed. We seeded that last fall. Unfortunately, the seed didn't take, so that's the reconditioning of this. This time, what we're gonna have done is we're gonna have the sod removed, or it's more like, it's not turf grass anymore, it's more of a weed grass, like crabgrass. So we're gonna have all of that removed, some topsoil brought in, and then we're going to have plugs planted in there rather than seed. Plugs will take a little bit better than the seed. They're a little bit easier to establish. So that area will have native forbs, so more flowering plants. And then in between the fence line and where there is currently a row of switchgrass, there will be two just mulched areas that'll be more like paths to walk through and look. We will be placing a Prairie in Progress sign there, which operations already has, so there will be some signage there to let people know what it is. This area will be much more colorful than the area at Lindsay, because the Lindsay's grasses. This one will be forbs, which are flowering plants.
Great, thank you, thank you. And my last question was, I had to ask what an AED unit is in the report. And I learned a lot from Jessica about it. And so how many know what an AED is? You would, because of your work. Okay, 2 out of us here, and now I know more, I can raise my hand.
Sure,
Can
I
you
should
share
probably
the-
know what AED stands for, but basically what an
Electronic
defibrillator. So
Defibrillator, yeah.
basically an AED is a mobile defibrillator that if we have any issues in a park location, such as heart attack or whatnot, that somebody needs their heart started again, it's a mobile device that we can use to do that. They're fairly simple to use, almost anybody can use them. Our safety and training supervisor does a good job of training our entire staff on how to use them. But they're basically, when you turn them on, they give you word for word direction on what to do. So it's a verbal cue on what to do next, and they can save lives.
Great. I had asked about where they might be located. It isn't something you can just grab, but there is protection at least there. So where are a couple of places, like someone who has a problem at Vanderveer, just a couple of big parks and what someone would do, where it would be?
Sure, so they're more in our facilities, so the swimming pools both have AEDs, River's Edge, I believe, has an AED, the 29th Street Shop has an AED, the golf course maintenance areas have AEDs, so if there's an issue on a golf course, that one of the maintenance folks can grab an AED and go help out. Not so much in the parks themselves, but in the manned facilities, there are AEDs.
I hope you get a better overview on where things are. I felt better after learning what an AED was, so thanks so much for that. I asked a lot of questions. Did I trigger any other questions from you? We'll move on if not. What about in our distant viewers or here participators? Krista, anything?
Nothing on my side yet.
Okay. Well, then, at this point, we will move on to Riverfront Improvement Commission report. Chris?
I don't have a whole lot. It was a short meeting for Riverfront Improvement Commission, and most of it was taken up with lease stuff, with the big headlining one being Boozy's wanting to move into the former diner space, and I believe council has now approved that. Riverfront Improvement Commission couldn't approve that because it was longer than 3 years, but they did pass along a recommendation that council approve it for a 5-year lease, and I believe that's happened since. And the only other thing was that Denise Sinetka had her baby the day of the Riverfront Improvement Commission meeting, so she did not attend.
Thank you.
I think that's all I've got.
Great, thank you. Any questions for Chris? Will it be both levels? When they were writing about the press report for Boozy's, are they taking up that whole area?
Yes, they, what they used to do in the upstairs room at Boozy's, like private events or things like that, will actually be in the lower level of the Freight House space, and then their more typical, what they had on the first floor of Boozy's will be essentially the second floor down there, where they've got the kitchen and more tables and chairs. So they're gonna do a few little renovations and stuff, and the city has some renovations planned that they're gonna try and work with Boozy's to still get done over the next 6 months or so. But she's really itching to get back open as soon as possible, so the city is working with her to try and make that happen as best as possible.
Thank you. Shall we move on? We do have time for advisory time, suggestions for future agendas, items, and I'll entertain discussion on advisory time suggestions.
I know Chad's not here, but was there any kind of staff report other than the written report? No, okay. Sometimes he gives us little updates, you know.
I asked him about that, and the two biggest things that we're working on right now is the RFPs and RFQs have closed for our ADA transition plan. So staff are in the scoring step of that right now. And we're looking to have that plan finalized probably by the summer of next year. And that'll be in conjunction that helps support our accreditation efforts that will be coming up in 2027. And we are also doing, closing out an RFP and then doing scoring now for a sign guidebook. So we have park sign standards. So we're gonna have a consulting firm come in and help develop a guidelines for us, which will help with us when we are replacing park entrance signs, wayfinding signs, informational or kiosk type signs. If we have a standard for that, it makes it a lot easier when we are rolling out to have a more unified look across all of our parks. It helps with branding, identification, all of those things. So we have more of a unified look. So those are two big projects that we're working on.
Thank you for that. Advisory time.
I have something.
Thank you, Jerry.
Billy, maybe you can kind of tell us what's going on down at Credit Island as far as the whole park. I was down through there the other day.
So just a general,
In a general, yeah, what's happening?
so
I see they've been mowing a lot better down there. They're working on some other stuff down there.
So forestry continues to remove trees that have been dying. We've had some more trees that have had limbs fall off, so those trees have been removed. We've had the causeway has been repaired, so that's a
looks really
nice,
good,
nice
yeah.
thing. The increased mowing has been nice, yes. It's been more because there've been quite a few activities going on down at Credit Island. Next weekend, I believe, is the Renaissance Fair. But Floatzilla just happened recently, so just more activity in the park. We wanted to make sure that it was cleaned up for all the folks that attracted. So,
Oh, it looks pretty good. I would still like to see all of those weeds and trees on the east side of the park
okay,
as you're coming back in towards the clubhouse.
okay, yep,
All that whole area along there, and even all the way back to the curve. I mean,
Sure.
I know you can't clean all that out of there, but what would really be kind of cool, and even around on the other side too as well, is if you could see the water from that road. Is there any progress or
so-
anything that we can do to maybe just little by little?
that also is a goal of mine. So little by little, we have been sending the skid steer down there to remove willows and
I've seen some of it.
and other taller vegetation so that we can see the water. This year's been tough because we haven't ever gotten caught up on mowing. So we're gonna focus on more of the parks themselves that are neighborhood parks that people bring their kids to more often than the areas like that are the kind of secondary use areas of Credit Island. And then when we get caught up, that is a goal of mine, so that as you're driving around, as a person is driving around the island, that they see the water.
Yeah, and it's
That's-
more scenic that way.
to me-
And I think once you do that, I think you're gonna have more people go down there.
I agree. To me, one of the biggest amenities of this area is the Mississippi River, so
right.
why not see it?
Yeah, why
So,
not see it?
Yeah,
So if we were working on it, and not only that, but to shore that up a little bit, I know we talked about this a long time ago, about getting rock and huge rock to go along there, and they said, well, you're gonna have to get a hold of Corps of Engineers. Well, I've talked to people that used to work for the Corps of Engineers. I don't think there'd be that much of an issue for that.
no, I agree with you. To get a permit from the Corps for that would be fairly easy. They have what's called a nationwide permit. As long as it's less than 1,000 feet at a time, you can do a nationwide permit, and as long as you're not entering the water with the rock, so if you're just putting it on the bank that goes up to the water, it's a fairly easy process. It's more about, right now, it's more about utilizing the staff that we have, and we just don't have time to do everything, right? So,
And the third thing down there is basically the docking. You know, the docks, not only on the Mississippi River, but even if there was a dock system on the other side where people could take their kayaks and so forth and get back into that backwater, because that's probably a good place to go kayaking.
well, I can tell you, we do have a new renter of the garages behind the lodge at Credit Island who does do kayak tours. So if anyone's interested in that, there is a gentleman that's renting one of the garages behind the lodge. He is a startup that's going to start up kayak tours. He has been advised, so we had a meeting with this gentleman. We advised him to talk to River Action because River Action has some ideas on how to replace the docks that used to be there. The docks that were there were damaged and just haven't been replaced because they've been damaged. River Action's looking at writing a grant to replace those. So that might be something that comes to fruition.
It's starting to sound good. I like that.
Yeah,
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
yes, sir.
The docks at Lake George have the kayak inserts. They're really, I mean, they're great. They're nice. I've never fallen off a kayak on the dock at Lake George, so.
So the gentleman that is renting the space behind the lodge first came to us and wanted to rent space in the old hot dog stand at, between LeClaire Park and well, at the east side of LeClaire Park, I guess. And because the current is so strong there, we recommended Credit Island. And because we'd already had a meeting with River Action that they wanted to write this grant to replace the docks, it seemed like a perfect partnership. So we'll see what my next. It's too strong. When the roller dams are up and the water's flowing through there, it's hard to keep a boat there, let alone a kayak, so,
And you could have a life vest on, and I think the water would still take you under.
yeah.
If you fell off.
It's very turbulent
Dangerous
there,
there,
so
that's what I
much less current at Credit Island. And again, with River Action already interested in writing a grant to replace those docks.
Yeah.
And they were interested in a kayaking part of this grant. So that partnership, I'm excited to see what happens with that.
That's good. I'm glad to hear that. Thank you.
When you talk about that, those garages are very isolated and pretty remote. And so I hope that I think it's a great idea, but security and how would that be managed to keep it growing? You know, once he does that, maybe other things would pick up. So do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so the security was obviously something that we brought up with this gentleman, that we cannot guarantee security there. But one nice thing about Credit Island is that almost every weekend the lodge is rented. So when we don't have people on site, there are at least people that are renting the lodge. That's almost every weekend throughout the entire year. Also, there are quite a few people that go to Credit Island. So there are always eyeballs watching. So, yeah, although security is an issue, and we did tell him that we couldn't guarantee the security. They are locked. He does have padlocks, which we have keys to, but they're his own padlocks. So, yeah, we're doing the best we can.
Well, that's a great new adventure. Love that. I received an email from my alderman that actually is focused in on bike trails. And I know we've got bike trail right here, but what has triggered it is concerns that he is getting from residents who use the trails regularly. And what was brought up is, of course, e-bikes and scooters are the main culprits. And they're traveling at a greater speed than 20 miles per hour, so I don't know what the max is or the minimum. Do you have that? Yeah.
So we have also been getting emails and phone calls as well. And we have other aldermen that are being contacted, which is great. This is what we want. We want the community talking to their council members. In our research, so as you guys were part of, back in May, it was approved to reclassify the types of e-bikes that are allowed. It's class 1, class 2, and to clarify what kind of vehicles can be on trails. In some of the research that we've done, we've come to realize that there is nowhere at all in the city code that there is a maximum speed limit as dictated in writing in there. It's generally agreed upon that it's more of a social contract, that it's 20 miles per hour. So that is something that we are looking to address. Chad did have a meeting with the chief of police and a few other members from the department to talk about some of the issues that we've been having in the park system as a whole, i.e. vandalism, theft, destruction of property, but we also did talk about trails as well. So there's a couple of different things that we're working on. Enforcement on the trails is just not something that is possible. From parks, we are not a department that does code enforcement. We're not authorized to do code enforcement. We are also not trained in code enforcement. Our staff are not. PD is the enforcement agency. However, they do not have the staffing levels to be able to completely be on the trails throughout the day the way that it is needed. There's a lot of concerns with e-bikes. We're also seeing a lot of concerns with motorized four-wheel vehicles on the trails. We're also getting reports of the mini bikes, the gas-powered mini bikes. And it's not just on the trails. We're having issues throughout the city with that. So it is a common issue that multiple departments are aware of, and we're trying to figure out how best to address this. There's not really an easy fix. One of the things that Chad had an idea with the AmeriCorps program was to recruit AmeriCorps members who could be park ambassadors and work together as a team to be out on the trails, in our parks, in the evenings and kind of the peak times, especially come summertime, when we don't necessarily have staff on schedule. They could be out there running pop-up programs, activities, interacting with the public, being a more visible, official member of the Parks and Rec team in the evenings and specifically on the trails as well to help. So we're working on with PD to get some bicycles, and that is something that Jordan, our program supervisor, is working to recruit right now. AmeriCorps recruitment is a little slower than it has been in the past, but we were anticipating that.
Good. There were a couple of, you've hit a lot of things that were indicated in this particular message. Increasing signage was a key one, especially with the multi-use paths. And there would be ways, I hope that that's part of what would look better or more eye-opening along the path. The other is ways to educate the users. And one of the things that was brought up is the lack of courtesy when you're coming from behind a walker or someone using the path. And so that seems to be avoided a lot. And all of a sudden you see the weaving in and out without any indication of that. And the last, you talked about enforcement presence. So let's hope that we can get some kind of way to get that going. Let's see, the other one was, it just strategy targeted for enforcement of the laws or whatever the final parameters on use of the paths becomes. So,
Yeah, unfortunately, I think enforcement is going to continue to be potentially the weakest area. We've talked a lot about signage, and signs alone, we know, are not going to fully address things, but it's difficult to do enforcement if we don't have clearly posted expectations and rules. I know the trail committee has been working on etiquette and that type of signage. Something else, one of my counterparts in PD, he went to Colorado and shared some things that he saw in Colorado that they're doing on their trails. And we've been talking about that for us. Part of that is putting in for funding to do a repainting and restriping of the whole trail system to delineate left side versus right side, to maybe paint in like high visibility yellow in the blind corners, areas that could be a safety concern. We've talked about doing speed monitors in a couple different of the high impact areas or the higher use areas. So we are looking at a couple different things to help with that. We're also looking at wayfinding signs. So letting people know if you are having an issue, you are at next to S3 on the Duck Creek Trail, that helps communicate to PD, oh, we know what crossroads they're at. So we're looking at a couple different things. There's not a super easy fix to this, and unfortunately. And it's been an ongoing thing even before e-bikes, because 10 years ago, we were hearing about road bikes going quickly. So,
Well, we'll welcome any and all advancement to that. Maybe it can be a report nestled into the category here. What triggers my mind is where I walk the dog is near Paul Norton School and Kiwanis Park. And so the young people that go to school and back from the elementary school on bikes down the street, et cetera, is something I've never seen before. And then we see in our neighborhood, children who have a sibling younger on the same bike at night with a little blinking light. So what I'm getting at is there any addressing, maybe going to Safety Week at public schools, a curriculum there where we know there's an abundance of e-bikes? That might be a starting point. I don't know. It just, those kids get out and they almost challenge you on the paths in the park, et cetera, and I see them on their way to school and from school. So that's a big new use that is beyond the park system. So I see your head nodding. Is that part of what you've talked about, or education-wise?
so the city as a whole we have a lot of barriers to cycling throughout the city. I think Mike would agree, this is not the most bike-friendly of cities. So I think that sometimes can make things a little bit more difficult. The trail is a really great way to commute from one side to the other in a safe way. And so I think that is a component. I think we can do some partnering, we as the city, not necessarily Parks and Recreation. I have talked to my counterpart over at the school district about, doing education about bicycle rules and safety rules. I know PD has talked about possibly going out and doing some talks too. So it's gonna be a large group, yeah. And like I said, there's no quick and easy way of doing this, but I think little by little, if we can put some things into place, it will help mitigate. You're gonna have the people who see a sign, read it and go, oh, I didn't know that, now I know, and will follow. And then you're gonna have some who are not going to pay attention. So, yeah, there's not an easy way to address this.
It's an explosion, but a lot of it is basically awareness of what is going. And I hate to see awareness come from a community disaster with a young person in a bike. And maybe, I hate to say that, sometimes that's the time that wakes people up, but keep going. And the good ideas that you got from your colleagues in Colorado were awesome, so thank you. Other questions or comments?
I think Mike has.
Mike,
The
yes.
thing that's happened is, people just say the word e-bike and it means evil. Most all excuse me, I'm hoarse. Most all e-bikes are my age or younger, or families. You hardly ever get passed by an e-bike. I've been passed by more fast bikers that think they're training for the Olympics than anybody. It all boils, no matter what you have, it boils down to the user. And a lot of people, they're class 4 e-bikes, which are not even e-bikes, or e-motos. They're the ones tearing things up, the ones downtown. E-bike allows somebody like me to bike that wouldn't be able to otherwise. So that's where it gets kind of, oh, I saw an e-bike. Why? Well, it was going fast. Did you see a motor? No. So it's a hard thing. It's just like if people, a guy has a Corvette, should you ban him because it can go fast or it might not? So I get kind of defensive in that aspect. And the other scooters now, oh my gosh, there's everything. And it's the people using them. There's a guy downtown that I used to always see, looked like he was a businessman, just ride his scooter up and down the trail for like a break at lunch. Well, that doesn't hurt anything. But the ones that I've watched some of them, it's, oh my gosh, if you could arrest them, but that's my 2 cents. It's not all e-bikes. They allow it, but people change them. So that was the part when we worked on the presentation for the city. They were just gonna ban them, but that would take somebody like me and a whole generation off the streets or trails. So it's a tricky thing.
Very much so. Thank you. This has spurred a lot of interest, I think, and if we can be updated, that'll be helpful. At this point, we still have time for advisory time. We've had good discussion, or maybe it's time to move on.
I'll just bring up one thing. They've got all the cement in now up at Emice. It's all done. And now they're starting, I see a truck up there tonight that they are gonna start putting the grass down along the edge of the street.
Oh, for the rec trail. I thought you were talking about the playground. I'm
No,
sorry.
for the rec trail. No,
I'm
for the
sorry.
rec trail.
Yes, so the rec trail is all in.
It's all in.
Final grading's going on, grass should be going down. And then since we're at Emice, the playground has been somewhat quiet, but I did hear today that the pour in place company is on site, ready to go with that. So
Yeah.
a lot of things are getting completed there at Emice.
And then the trees come in.
Yes.
I got some people up there that are not happy with that. They wanted the park, they wanted all that stuff. And then all of a sudden where they put it, right where their house is, there's no trees because they took them all out.
Yeah, when that tornado went through, the trees
They took them out and.
just got destroyed.
So I talked to Chad about it one time before and I knew they were gonna put trees in there and I explained to him that they're putting trees, but they went ahead and called. I imagine, I don't know who he called, but they called down the park. And they're gonna put a whole bunch of evergreen trees along their backyard, I guess, but that's okay, you know? But anyway, it's all done up there and as far as the trail goes, and it's really good. Matter of fact, I have a friend of mine who lives in Bettendorf. He came riding over to my house in an e-bike. So, yeah, so off he's in. He says, how can I get down to Credit Island? So he and I got in my car and I just showed him where to go, where to hit it and so forth. And yeah, it's gonna be nice when I get all finished down there. So, thanks.
Great. Well, we have just a few more weeks of really good weather, so maybe we'll have good biking and trail participation again. At this time, we would definitely agenda item on the agenda. So a motion to close our meeting is certainly in order. Is there a motion?
I make a motion to close the meeting.
And a second has been heard. Those saying yes to closing the meeting
Yes.
indicate yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Great. I hear no no's or abstentions, right? Well, we'll see you again in October.